Put away your defensiveness and understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. All right? Do what? It's a good movie, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, we're talking fear of scuba diving and fear of getting off of a 10-foot platform underwater and going down to 50 feet and all that kind of stuff. I mean, as I have said, fear, false evidence appearing real, right? And all fears really boil down to that one fear that rules them all, right? The king of all fears that creates all the other fears. The fear of ostracism, the fear of death comes from that. The fear of public speaking comes from that. The fear of the dark comes from that, right? All of these fears, the fear of spiders, right? Because you don't actually fear the spider itself, you fear what if the spider bites me, right? I don't fear a snake in and of itself, it's what if the snake bites me? I could die. Even if it's a non-poisonous snake, you still feel like you could die, right? There's an ostracism in that, right? The fear of relationships, the fear of not having relationships, right? All of that really boils down to this concept that is ostracism, not ostriches, right? And they really don't put their heads in the sand either. That's a myth. But ostracism. What is ostracism? Exclusion. The fear of not being accepted. Yeah. The fear of being alone in essence, right? Being kicked out of the crowd, being out of the group, right? And so we have that. Now, this fear overall creates all kinds of fears within us. It creates the fear of failure. Conversely, it also creates the fear of success. Something I was getting at earlier is that the last couple of days, I've really been working on Mark's brain a lot, and thought process and stretching, right? And you look at that, and when I think of it like a muscle. So when I go and work out, if I'm not hurting afterwards, I feel like I didn't have a good workout, right? And the reason I feel like that is because I know and understand that in order to grow my muscle, in order to grow my strength, I literally have to stretch that muscle past its normal point to the point where I'm creating micro tears in the fibers of the muscle so that way it can heal itself back. And when it heals itself back, it will heal stronger. Right? It's kind of like they say about breaking a bone. It's a very, very slim chance, effectively none, that you will ever break a bone in the same place twice. Because when you break it, it heals back, and it heals back stronger than it was before. Right? And so, working on Mark's mind and all of that, we've really been challenging him on a lot of things because what Mark's mind.
Mark?
Yeah, the brain within Mark.
Okay.
Yes.
I know. I mean, that's what I thought you were saying, but I wasn't following you.
Uh-huh.
I'm David's new case study in progress.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are. Right? I've been working on his mind. Why would I be working on his mind?
To help him grow.
Help him grow? Why else?
Stretching past his limits.
Stretching past his limits? Why else?
Everything we do originates in our mind.
Okay. Everything starts in your mind. Okay, good. Why else?
Take him out of comfort zone.
Take him out of comfort zone. Make him do things he hasn't done before. Right? Why? Why would I do all of that? Change his perception?
Changes his reality.
You have to change your perception in order to change your reality, right? Okay. Mark has said before, look, I've tried these things and I've failed at these things, right? And I look at the things that he's talking about and I say, well, why has Mark failed? about these things. And Mark has failed at these things in reality because of Mark's mind. Right? Now, Mark's an analytical. So what does that tell me?
He analyzes too much.
He overanalyzes everything? Yes. Yes.
We think about that.
Yeah, I need to process that. We were having a conversation, a week or so ago, and I challenged him on a couple of things, and I mean, you could just look in his eyes and see that it blew his mind, and immediately you could see the wheels start turning, right?
Why would you challenge me?
I'm going to challenge you. So you could look and see the wheels start turning and all of that. And so I thought to myself, well, in order to make an effective change, sometimes drastic change requires drastic measures, right? So I give Mark tasks to do with very little instruction, just to see what happens, right? And tell Mark, okay, Mark, here's what I need you to do. And Mark comes back and brings this stuff back. And what was my answer initially to the initial tasks?
Well, in essence, my takeaway is you're making this too hard.
That's my problem.
Yep.
Oh.
You're making it too hard. You're overthinking it. You're overdoing it, right? Simplify it down.
A task with little instruction as an analytical, you're going, well, does he want it done this way, or maybe he wants it done this way? Or if I do it this way, maybe he'd prefer that it was, more detailed and being, done this way. I mean, that's me on a concept.
You got it.
Yep. And so,
And then you drive yourself crazy, like,
absolutely.
well, which one would he want? Like, if I do it this way, is he going to be mad because he expected it to be done that way?
Then as an analytical, would you go ask David which way he prefers it?
My ultimate answer to that, no, he came up with some stuff. And my ultimate answer to that, nope, not right, do it again.
Now, if I may, the good news about it is, you just said something key. You talk about ostracism. As a perfectionist, you want to do things right. You want to do things to please people. And so that was initially one of my fears. In the back of my mind, was and foremost, what if he gets mad? The cool thing about David, as it relates to leadership, he's not getting mad at me. He's not saying, you idiot, what are you thinking? This is stupid. Why did you do this? He doesn't do that. He says, well, do this, this, this. What about this? And he talks about it to the point where I can say, okay, yeah, this is what I was thinking. Yes, there is another way, and this is another way, and usually, in this case, a better way.
Because by getting mad and calling you stupid and those kind of things, all it would do was it would increase the fear.
Right, it reinforces the fear.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
And that would be with any social style, right?
it would be, yeah. It doesn't matter what social style it is. It would be any social style, especially when you're looking at beginning to change mindsets about things, right? So the ultimate target of all of this is one of the things that I've started creating is a very, very simple marketing system, right? Very, very simple. Almost ridiculously simple, right, Mark?
It's ridiculously complex. It's ridiculously complicated that I want to make it so hard.
So, and Mark's asking me these questions. Well, what about this? And what about this? And don't I need to learn about this so I can pivot to that in that scenario? Nope. I need to figure this out, right? And so he's going to the website and trying to read stuff, and he's getting on our server and trying to read things and look things up and do all this. Nope. Right? Why? Why do I keep telling him nope?
In one sense, it's a crutch. One of the things that is comforting in doing the research is I don't have to actually take action.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, especially in analytical social style, it's true in amiables as well, oftentimes, is a fear of ostracism, you create your own ostracism. Right? Mm-hmm. Think about that. In other words, more often than not, the things you fear, by focusing on those things, you bring them to pass. Right? So when Mark said in the past that he's failed at these things, That's a lot of the reason why. Analysis paralysis for the analytical, right? Well, I got to do it right. I've got to know all the details. I got to figure everything out. I've got to get all this stuff done. And in reality, for the project that I'm having Mark do, you don't need the details. In fact, the details will make it harder to complete the project. The more detail you have to what each piece of the project that you're trying to do, the more in-depth you try to do, the more likely you are to fail at it. So when I said the target is creating a very simple marketing system, it literally is very simple. Now, there's a lot of moving parts to it. It's complicated on my side. But as far as the actual, once it's all put in play, as far as the actual interactions and things that you do on a regular basis, it's not but a couple of steps. There's not but a couple of things that you actually have to do, right? And so I look at that kind of stuff, and where my challenge with Mark is, and challenging him is simplify it down. I need to pull out some of that analytical and set it to the side and focus on simplicity, right? Because that's been his major challenge, is overcomplicating everything. So
let me think about how to simplify this.
yeah. So I asked him, one of the pieces of the puzzle that I asked him to do is I said, initially we're going to need some emails, right? I'm going to need you to write some emails. It ended up being 32 of them, right? Let's start with the initial one. Okay. I said, go write me an email, bring it back. He went and wrote me an email, brought it back. Not going to work. Why wouldn't it work?
It wouldn't work because I wasn't sufficiently addressing the pain point.
Okay. Why else wouldn't it work?
It also wouldn't work because I was initially trying to give too much information that really was irrelevant.
Yes, Mr. Analytical. You were trying to give information that was completely unnecessary at that particular point.
The thing that's interesting about it, and this probably is no surprise, I'm putting in their email, just an initial email to get a response. I'm putting in stuff that I would like to see. Guess what? It's not going to me. So all we're trying to do is provide a scenario that encourages them to take action. It is a simple concept. I do want to put too much stuff in there, and so in essence, inadvertently, I'm taking away and diluting my purpose. Click on this video, watch this video, get back to me. Instead, it's the reason you want to do this is
Right. So the purpose of the email is what?
to get them to watch a video.
Yep. So if I'm selling something in the email, what am I selling?
To get them to watch the video.
I'm selling a click.
To turn
Selling a click.
Huh?
I'm selling a click.
Click, right.
All I want them to do is click.
Right.
They're not buying anything yet, right? We're not knocking boots and having babies yet.
And then this
Right.
is exactly what we talked about last week when we said, hey, Stephanie, it's nice to have a coffee with you and Vivi today. Want to get married?
Yeah.
You know, that's a crude comparison, but you can't push somebody that quickly. You have to draw them in with, we call it micro commitments. Just do this. Just click on this video. Next time I'll get you to do something else, but I'm not going to tell you that.
So fear here is fear in all of this of what he was doing is fear of not giving them enough information, right? That's part of it. Then there's also fear of not doing it right. The fear of upsetting David for what David wanted,
Fear of David not being
right?
placed.
There's a lot of fears in that when I'm not giving you very much information to go on to begin with, right? But there's a reason for that, right? The reason for that is to begin to reprogram and understand that none of those fears have come to pass. Right? False evidence appearing real. And in fact, knowing that, the simplicity of this particular email and what will make it more effective than other things is the fact that it only realistically focuses on one thing, selling the click, And it does it in two ways. Right?
Okay.
Two ways. Fear and curiosity. There are three major motivators to the human psyche. Okay? Three major motivators to the human psyche: fear, curiosity, and greed. In fact, the vast majority, by and far, the vast majority of decisions that people make in their lives are based on one of those three things, one or more of those three things.
Would greed also be like, conceit, or what I'm trying to say is like the plexiderm or stuff like that advertises, it's not really money. You are curious if it's gonna take away those wrinkles or those bags, but it's because you got pride, I guess, and you wanna look better, would that kind of be under greed? Cause it don't have to be money, fear, okay, getting older looking,
Yeah.
okay.
And greed, understand, greed is not, oh, I need money for the sake of money.
Right, it's not just about money.
The concept of greed, at its core, greed simply means the desire for gain. Okay. Lots of times, especially if we're talking about like biblical references and those kind of things, people talk about, oh, greed is one of the 7 deadly sins. Greed in small amounts, with the definition I just gave you, in small amounts is healthy. It's when it goes too far that it becomes unhealthy, right? And so any of these things in small amounts can be healthy. It's when they go too far that they become unhealthy, right? I mean, you think about like fear of public speaking, right? Well, having a healthy fear of getting in front of a crowd and speaking your mind or telling them some bit of information, having that healthy fear of that helps keep you on your toes. If you let it go too far, then you start shaking, shivering, getting cold sweats, and you freaking out before you ever get there. And I'm going to have a heart attack, so let me go to the ER. I'm not going to be able to do this today. Right?
I'm thinking of the movie Carrie for some reason. Her mother is telling Carrie before she goes to the senior prom, they're all going to laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the large part of the fear of speaking.
Yeah. Okay. A reality. You get more of what you focus on.
Absolutely.
Right? So when you focus on complexity, in Mark's case, what do you get?
Complications.
Yeah. You get much more complexity. Right? That's where analysis paralysis comes from.
Testify.
And so when you focus on simplicity, what do you get? More simplicity. In fact, that email, I sat down and brainstormed, I don't know, what was it, a minute and a half in reality? About a minute and a half, and rewrote it.
It was pretty disgusting watching him do that in real time.
Well,
I spent a couple of hours putting together 4 emails, half-ass emails, and he goes,
So now we have videos to send out with emails,
Do what?
or we're in the process?
Don't even worry about that. That's not a topic of discussion at the moment. So the thing is that I can spit that stuff out that quick. Why?
because you say, let's make this simple. Here, this is simple. Done.
And when I'm making it simple, by the way, that simplistic focus is on one or more of these 3 things. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So the only thing I have to keep in my mind is one or more of these 3 things, and the understanding of what I want a person to do next.
Click.
That's it.
That goes back to whoever wrote about the 7 habits of highly effective people, and on the stinking video and watch it for 2.5 minutes. So, anyway, so to get here, from here to here, simply, we're going to do and David goes, down.
Yeah, he does, he's good at that.
It's just a matter of simplify it down, right? What do you want? A matter of fact, my conversation with Pat before we even got in here this morning, because he had an idea for something that he wanted to do, and my question was, why? You know, I want to create polls, and I'd like to poll people. What do you like better? This, okay, but why? Why do you want that? Why does it even matter? If it doesn't matter, don't do it. Don't complicate things for the sake of complicating things. Don't throw things out there just for the sake of throwing things out there. Why? Probably the most powerful question you could ever ask. Why? Yes, it is. Right? So you look at this kind of stuff and we say, okay, well, all right, what does this have to do with ostracism? What does this have to do with fears? What does it have to do with everything? Is the fact that in reality, the fear of ostracism, as are all fears, almost all fears, I won't say all, but almost all fears are completely irrational. Okay? Almost all fears are completely irrational. Of those fears that are not completely irrational, the fears that are in general rational, most often are only valid because of choices that I have made. Example. The whole idea of I've been trained to scuba dive. I know how to breathe. I know how to regulate. I know how to handle my own buoyancy, and I know how to do all of this kind of stuff. It's not a big deal, right? I know it's a very simple factor that if I get down too far and I need to get back up to the surface of exactly what to do. You're in a quarry. Jaws isn't there. All right? You might have a catfish or a turtle. Catfish is not going to eat you. All right? Completely irrational, any fear that we may have along those lines, right? Now, flip that token. I say, I am deathly afraid of sharks. I'm going to go out and do some scuba diving just off the coast of South Africa, right? About mid-fall, so I can go see some sharks, right?
I'm going to hang some bloody fish all over.
That's right. I'm going to chum myself up really good, so the sharks will get nice and close. I can see them up close and personal. Okay. Oh wait, I'm a little fearful of being bitten by a shark. Is that a possibility?
Yes.
Yes, it is, but it's based on the choices that you make. Okay. Well, I could get mugged. Somebody could mug me. What are you doing, right? I mean, it's that. Oh, okay. So it's probably not a good idea to be walking down the street in the middle of the night in the worst part of town with a money belt, around you, and choices you made.
Blinking light that says ATM over your head.
Yeah, I mean, we look at that kind of stuff, right? Something that we've seen locally, for example, is people talking about like the mall around here, and the security in the mall is terrible, and we're you're not safe there. You could get shot, you could get killed, you could get hurt, you could get whatever. I mean, let's go back to reality here for a second, right? How many actual incidents have there been in the last 40 years at that place? 3. Okay. 3 incidents.
First of which just happened, 2 years ago?
Yes. How many of those were between some other people that were doing things they shouldn't be doing?
No, it was last
Three.
year.
All three?
Three.
Okay.
Christians there.
Yeah. Two of which actually happened in a parking deck
Exactly.
in a spot that other people usually aren't.
Unless you're doing drug deals. Again, choices we make.
Choices we make, right? So you look at that kind of stuff. Now, I mean, I'm not saying that there's not a possibility of something bad. Bad things do happen to good people from time to time, right? I'm saying that walking around fearing those kind of things all day, every day is completely irrational because the actual likelihood of something like that happening to you is very slim, right?
Statistically, you're going to stand a better chance of drowning in your bathtub at home.
Yeah. I mean, I stand just about the same chance of winning the lottery by not playing the lottery. Okay, completely irrational. Right. I've got another project I'm going to have Mark working on today that's going to stretch him. Right. You guys may have seen this before, but let's. Did you read my email yet?
Not this morning.
No, not the one why I said it was bad. Do it again. So Mark recorded a video yesterday, and I watched the first video. It was terrible. Mark can honestly say it was terrible too. Okay. So Mark recorded a second video. I helped him rewrite the script that he was using for his little video, and he recorded the second video. Way better than the first video, right? Way better than the first video. And so Mark recorded the second video, but there's still a major problem with the second video. Now, without giving you any more detail, what do you think that major problem might be?
With the second video,
The second video. It's way better than the first one, but it's still bad.
too much information.
Too much information? Be a good thought process. Keep in mind the video is required to be less than 3 minutes.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, but I don't know if we're supposed to know that he's analytical in this example.
You're sitting here, you know.
Explaining it in a way that is pushing people away from wanting to click versus.
He has a script.
And it's better than it was the first time.
Yep. So I said up front, he has a script. We rewrote the script. It's better than it was the first time because now he has an actual effective script. So why would it still be bad? So you have a video. He can't give too much information because it's required to be less than 3 minutes. He has a script to go off of. There's only one other thing effectively that could make it bad. What?
Fear
His
of being
presentation of
ostracized.
it. Fear of what, Pat?
He said fear of being ostracized.
Because emotions, after you make the decision, that leads to your emotions.
Well, y'all haven't seen the video. One of the first things is it's 3 minutes and 7 seconds when it's supposed to be under 3.
He's analyzing 7 seconds. I don't care about the 7 seconds. Okay, that wasn't in my.
Fear.
So it's just practice, just because of the way he presents it?
It's not presentation.
Fear.
It's
Performance, okay.
so there's a big difference between presentation and performance. Okay. Big difference between presentation and performance.
Now, what is the difference?
Oh, that's a good question. What is the difference between presentation and
Because
performance?
I'm thinking of public speaking. You're presenting something or you're performing.
There's a huge difference between presentation and performance.
One of those three, fear, curiosity, or greed, I'd say fear.
Okay. That can cause
Yes.
an issue with performance, but what's the difference? Just in the idea of presentation versus performance, what's the difference?
I mean, when I think of performance, I think of an actor or actress portraying a emotion used to portray.
It's not convincing.
Presentation does not require emotion.
Ah,
Performance requires emotion.
that's good.
So if the problem is in his performance, what is the problem?
Convincing.
If the problem is in his performance, what's the problem?
He's making wrong choices because emotions are a choice.
Emotion, there's not enough emotion, either.
Simplify this. You're thinking too deep. If the problem is in his performance, what's the problem?
There's not enough emotion.
He's not performing with emotion. It's monotonous. When's the last time you listened to somebody who spoke monotone?
Dry eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've all done it. We've been in church at some point. They have a speaker come in that gives a sermon, and you're like, "Oh, for the love of God, Jesus, please keep my eyes. Send your angels to hold my eyelids open." Right? Feel like Tom and Jerry. I need the toothpicks. You know? It's a performance problem. It means there's no emotion in it. But we know people buy things for emotional reasons. They keep things for logical reasons, but they buy things for emotional reasons, right? So why is it when Mark performed for the camera, for the video, when Mark performed for the video, why did Mark not put the emotion in it?
Because that's not what he's used to.
Fear. It goes back to that. I've said it for years when people are doing presentations and performances and all that kind of stuff. There is this thing called loss in translation, right? And so how it comes out of my mouth, how I hear it in my head, is not how somebody else is going to receive it, right? There's a loss. It's the downward side of that bell curve, right? I got to ramp myself up on the bell curve so I can peak out up here, but once it leaves here, it's going down, right? Meaning, I need to go well beyond my comfort zone. I need to be able to go well beyond my comfort zone for a person to hear things appropriately, as they were intended. Right?
So in this case, exaggeration would be appropriate.
Yes, exaggeration and based on your personality, the exaggeration would be by far. Okay? By far exaggeration. So, how are we going to make Mark uncomfortable with this?
I'm going to have to pretend like I'm an amiable. I'm going to be expressive. I'm going to be so much.
You're going to have to be an expressive. All right, let's do this. It's been a while since you guys have seen this, so we're going to pull it out. Read it.
I did not say he stole the money.
What does it mean?
But you didn't say he was a thief.
I did not say he stole the money.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Mark's going to perform it. All right? I'm going to write one word larger than another word. That word requires the emphasis. Right? It needs to be performed, not presented.
I did not say he stole the money.
Do it again.
I did not say he stole the money.
I did not say he stole the money. I did not say he stole the money. What does it mean?
Somebody else said it.
What's the feeling?
Somebody accused you.
I'm feeling very accused,
Yeah.
right? Now, if I alter it slightly, I did not say he stole the money.
Stephanie said he
Yes. I'm defensive, but I'm attempting to shift blame. Right?
I did not say he stole the money.
Do it again.
I did not say he stole the money.
Right? I did not say he stole the money. Right? I did not say he stole the money. Now what's the emotion?
More toward less defensive and more convincing that I'm angry about and adamant about.
Okay.
Did not.
So I went from being somewhat defensive to now I'm so defensive that I'm angry about it.
I'm getting ticked here. Yeah.
Okay? Stop accusing me.
I did not say he stole the money.
Okay? Do it again.
I did not say he stole the money.
I did not say he stole the money, but I sure might have inferred it.
You're not getting me in that mess.
I didn't say he stole the money. I was just saying.
Basically, you just in here last.
Yeah. All right.
I did not say he stole the money.
All right. Do it again.
I did not say he stole the money.
I did not say he stole the money. I said somebody stole the stinking money. I'm not saying it was him. I'm just saying it's somebody. One of you people's a thief. That's what I'm getting at. I'm going to need somebody to empty their pockets up in this joint. I didn't say it was him. Right?
I did not say he stole the money.
Okay. I did not say he stole the money. Maybe he just borrowed it. I'm not calling him a thief. I'm just saying maybe he needed a little cash, was intending to put it back. He was just borrowing it for a minute. I don't know. I don't know you. Huh?
I did not say he stole the money.
I did not say he stole the money. But I am saying he's a flipping thief. He's been stealing stuff all over the place. He might not have stole that money, but he stole money before. I know it. That's right. Somebody need to look at some cameras around this place. Right? Your boy over there, the thief. Right?
I did not say he stole the money.
I did not say he stole the money. I'm telling you he stole something. I didn't say it was money. I'm saying dude is a crook. He's a thief. He needs to go to jail. Somebody come and put the cuffs on this man because he's stolen something. I don't know what he stole, but he stole something. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 sentences grammatically the same. Drastically different in meaning. What's the difference?
The emphasis on what word?
Performance. Now, what did you notice different from my performance and Mark's performance?
Yours just kind of came natural with expression, and his was like, I have to think about putting the emotion in there.
Yeah. So mine flowed a little more naturally. Why? I ain't worried about what somebody thinks about this kind of mess. I'm worried about performing it well. I want it to perform well. Now, my everyday speech may not be, I did not say he stole the money out. Right? I may not be preacher man up here in my everyday speech, but when it's necessary, it is. You know what I'm saying? If I need to create an emotion, I do so. Now, get rid of the fear. And what can you do with your words?
Do a whole lot more.
You can create emotion. See, the problem, people talk all the time about, oh, communication is a problem, communication is a problem, communication is a problem. Communication is a problem, okay? Not just in the words we choose to use. It's more of a problem, more often than not, in how we choose to use the words, right? It's not what you say that's most important, it's how you say it. When you're looking at a performance in this case, the how you say it is significantly more important than the what you say. That's why we say that you cannot effectively communicate with emojis. Text messaging, Facebook Messenger, all that kind of stuff. That cannot be effective communication because it requires a person to be able to understand you well enough to be able to infer what you might be meaning from what you put in there.
But the emojis do help compared to just not having any at all.
Does it?
I mean, I'm just saying, like if you say something, somebody may say, think you're serious, and unless you send the laughing one. I mean, I don't like it at all because you cannot hear the emotion. I agree.
You really suck, smiley face.
I ain't got the emoji in there. You're a jerk.
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have,
Thumbs up.
if you didn't have the face at all, they might not know if you're kidding.
They don't know if you're kidding either.
Still, it's true.
I mean, here I could be joshing you. Right? That's an old word you hadn't heard in a while. Right? I'm trying to pull out some of these older ones, right? I could be joking around and smile, the smiley face. Oh, I'm laughing. I could be telling you you actually suck, and I'm laughing at you about it.
I mean, I agree. It's not.
You don't know.
No, you're right.
Well, you try to pick it up from other parts of conversations and previous conversations. You try to pick it up from all that kind of stuff. But guess what happens? You really suck at it. We all do. Do what?
I use bacon. Nobody uses thumbs up or so. I use bacon. I do, don't.
Yeah.
So you use bacon for what?
Bacon for like everything's good.
Everything's all good.
Instead of thumbs up and all that, he uses the bacon emoji.
Pull up his phone. See if I can use it. Everybody I communicate with.
True that.
It's all right.
So when we look at performance, right? When we look at performance and those kind of things, if we're going to get rid of the fears and we want to get more of what we focus on, right? You said you noticed that I performed this and it sounded more natural. Why?
It's not your first rodeo.
Okay, it's not my first rodeo. Okay, you can put practice into it. But the reality of it is the vast majority of people perform on a daily basis anyway because they're utilizing their emotion in what they're doing. But then they try to do something that's a little bit different, a little bit outside their norm, and they stop being who they are. They try to be something a little bit different, right? And I'm saying you do you. You just need to do you exponentially more because of the loss in translation, right? I mean, understand some of the most basic concepts here. The difference between these words is, okay, we say emphasis, but emphasis would just be saying, I did not. right? Still no emotion, just an emphasis. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a word that might be this and turning it into this. I did not. I did not.
And that's what I was doing in most of my recitations. I was emphasizing the words that you put in quotes.
Mm-hmm. And in many cases, what you were doing here, until the last couple, right? You didn't extend the word.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, emphasis oftentimes is merely a volume control, right? So I don't want to think about just volume. I want to think about volume, pitch, tempo, right? I need to think about all of these kind of things for how I'm going to emphasize something. One of my favorite, I've told you guys this once before, it's probably been a long time, but I used to love, years and years ago, I used to love Saturday Night Live, right? I haven't watched it in a really long time. But I love Saturday Night Live, especially when the old guys were on there. You had Chevy Chase on there, you had Steve Martin on there, Dan Aykroyd was on there. I mean, you had Eddie Murphy on there. Yeah, John Belushi. You had all these guys on. I loved Saturday Night Live. And the reason why I loved Saturday Night Live back then versus today, it feels like those guys understood this a lot better than a lot of the newer ones really understand this concept. My favorite skit of all time was a skit. So the special guest for the night was Jesse Jackson, right? Before Jesse Jackson went crazy, I believe. I don't know. I'm just saying. It was Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. It was the skit where they do the weekend update, right? And so you got your guy that's the newscaster, and then they pass it over to Jesse Jackson, and Jesse Jackson's just sitting there. Tonight, we're going to read from the book of Samuel. And he opens up, and you can kind of see it when he opens it up. Oh, it's Dr. Seuss. Right? Oh, baby, this is going to be good. Then he opens it up and he says, I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam, I am. Right? And he proceeds to read the whole book. Right? Like this. Favorite skit of all time. It was hilarious. I roll every time I think about it. Matter of fact, you can find it on YouTube, but it's like somebody actually held like an old school video camera. This was an old skit, right? It's like they held an old school video camera at the TV. So you see the little lines on the TV and stuff when you're watching the video, right? But it's worth the watch. And you think about it, and why is it that skit was so funny? Why did I get so excited? Why is that my favorite skit of all time? Is because it points out this simple fact. I did not say he stole the money. Right? I do not like green eggs and ham. I would not eat them on a boat. I would not eat them with a goat. You got to get that little reverberation in there too. Right? I would not eat them with a mouse. I would not eat them in a house. Right? It's because it's so over the top, right? It's so over the top. And we see pastors and preachers and stuff like that do that today, right? But what does it do? Here's what it's done. It's stuck in my mind for more than 20 years. That has stayed in my mind for more than 20 years. It created strong enough emotion within me that it stayed in my mind for that long. Because it's not just about the words that we use, it's about how we perform what we perform. how we do what we do. One of the things we know about sales, for example, is that a person is 17 times more likely to buy from an enthusiastic salesperson than they are from one who's unenthusiastic. Why? 17 times more likely.
Because their excitement flows over into the other person.
Yeah. It's funny, Pat and I were having the conversation earlier about tithes and offerings and biblical references and order and priority and all that kind of stuff. And the book of Malachi, it talks about God said, I will fill your storehouse so full that it will flow over unto others, right? But think about that same thought process. When your enthusiasm flows unto others, it becomes contagious. When your emotions flow unto others, it becomes contagious. Right? It's like a smile. How hard is it? You walk down the street and you start smiling at people, the vast majority of people are going to smile back at you. They don't know why they're smiling, but they're going to smile back at you. There's an emotion there that becomes contagious. Emotions are contagious, right?
Is it safe to say emotion equals impact?
Emotion creates impact. Shay the other day came in and she told me about one of her staff members who is resigning to take another position. The lady's actually kind of upset about it, and so she came in and she started crying. And Shay told her, she said, please don't cry. Don't cry. I'm a crier too. Don't cry. I'll cry. It's a fairly common thing for ladies, right? Another lady starts crying and talking, and right? It's common because emotions become contagious. So if you want to create an emotion within someone, you first have to have the emotion or be able to portray that emotion yourself. And let me throw this out there. Our whole conversation about performance here, and when I said the text message and stuff, that you really can't portray the emotion, you can't portray it, but you can create it with the words that you choose to use. Okay? But there's a how that goes along with it. It's why I say, Shay's, I love Shay to death. I mean, my wife, obviously, and love her, but she's very strange about certain things, right? So there are things that she'll read. The kids might write something, and she'll ask them, "Is that supposed to be an AMA format or MLA format?" Right? Well, you spent way too much time in school, babe. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to back off just a little bit, right? Because nothing I write on any daily basis do I ever even think about AMA format or MLA format. I'm just saying, I write for people to understand. I write for people to hear. I write to create thought process and to create emotions, right? And you don't do that by making sure that your sentence has the exact structure. That's not how people speak. So if I'm going to create emotion in my writing and be able to create this, and at the same time I also have to overcome this in myself, right? I have to challenge the status quo. I might need to write the status quo. I might need to write sentences that aren't actually sentences. You'll find a lot of my stuff I'll have ... dots. I'm pretty sure that's not anywhere in the whole AMA, MLA thing. Right? Matter of fact, the email that I sat down and wrote out, I got parentheses around stuff and everything else, right? Some words in all capital letters. Why?
Because you don't know how to use the strunk and white style calendar?
I mean, because I need to create the written version of the spoken this. Right? Yeah, how do you get people to respond, right?
kidding aside, when some of us who are on these mail lists from affiliates and internet marketers see the very long sales pages, they use bold a lot, they use color a lot, and sometimes they use, which disturbs me, they use different font styles from one paragraph to another. It drives me crazy, but it does get attention.
It gets attention, but you also have to understand that if it's done appropriately, now some of them are just bad. Throw that out there. Some of them are just bad. But if it's done appropriately, what it should do is it should actually hit up the style, the social style of the person who's reading it. For example, the analytical is going to want to read every bit of it, right? I don't want to miss anything, right? I need to know it all, right? The driver doesn't want to read all of that mess. They're going to scan and look for the bold and bullet points, right? The expressive is going to be scrolling down through there looking for some videos and some testimonials and that kind of stuff, right? The amiable don't really care about any of that. It's who do I know that got this and how much is it, right? So the amiable, in fact, if you've seen some of those types of pages that you're talking about, you'll see little pop-ups at the bottom. They'll say so and so from such just purchase, verified purchase, and it just pops up, right? It keeps popping up. That's amiable, right? Because again, it's intending to create that whole relational impact of look, other people are doing it, so I need to do it too, right? But going back into all of this right here, and back into my point. The point of all of this is you can't let an irrational fear keep you from excelling at anything that you want to do. I mean, there will be somebody that will watch this video at the point where I'm talking about Jesse Jackson, and they'll probably laugh their butt off. Right? I don't care. It don't bother me one bit. Matter of fact, I hope they do, because that was in part the intent. But understand, if I'm gonna interact with others, if I'm gonna get what I want, right? I have to be able to overcome my fear of ostracism and not worry about standing out from the crowd, because at the end of the day, I can't lead the pack if I don't stand out from the pack. Right?
Is there any rational fear?
Any rational fear? Absolutely. But as I said earlier, rational fears oftentimes are the result of choices that we've made.
Okay.
The whole, going into the middle of the hood at night with a money bag on you. Yeah, that's absolutely a rational fear. I mean, if I go to the zoo and I decide I want to jump into the lion's pen to take a picture of a selfie with the lion.
I'm just trying to think that, is there any, I guess maybe I should ask this question, is there any rational fear that would keep you from excelling?
No.
Okay, that was really more my question.
Any fear that you allow to keep you from excelling.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, that's the reality of it. But the question is what's more important to you?
Yeah.
Some people find that security and comfort zone the most important thing to them, so they're not willing to do anything that would stretch them. And that's okay, but you also have to realize that
You're not gonna get anything else either.
that's your choice. Yeah. Oh, I can't get out of my comfort zone. I can't stretch. I can't do this. I can't jump off that 10-foot platform. Why not? As long as you've taken all the reasonable precautions, as long as you learn and know what you're doing, then do it. Quit screwing around. Right? Because anything else is just an excuse. Irrational fears, in most cases, as I said, are results of our choices that we've made in the past. But understand that inaction is also a choice.
If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
No decision is a decision. No decision is a decision. So, but think about that. This, by the way, it affects every minute of every day of your life. Every minute of every day.